Hey everybody, welcome to a quick BoLS Retro Corner. Today we dive back into Apocalypse 2.0. Apocalypse 2.0 was this big book here. It was a self-contained rule set. Was basically valid up until 8th edition came out. This had pretty much all your rules after, it was 2012-ish when this came out. So ballpark it there. 6th through 7th and 8th, or up till 8th, was essentially 5th, 6th, and 7th. This was kind of your rule set. But yeah, we're going to take a flip through it today. Yeah, I'm kind of excited. This is bringing back some memories here. But yeah, APOC, man. Big old battles. And again, this was a version of Apocalypse that was essentially 40k but bigger. So they had a lot of extra rules. Well, not a lot of extra rules. They had extra rules to help you kind of build armies and put everything together into and onto the table, essentially. So it's just a lot of other stuff. Obviously, apocalyptic battles. They had some good advice for running games in here as well, which we're not going to need anymore once the new Apocalypse version comes out. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. That was the table of contents, and it's just a ton of stuff. We're not going to go through every single page here, obviously, but this talks about what exactly is Apocalypse and its big battles. Goes through the size of games. Talks about a typical 40k game. You know, takes an hour. Apocalypse can take a day or two. So that's what they're talking about. And then if you wanted to go even more, 8 players, you know, may take a whole weekend. This was the Apocalypse version that had the giant apocalyptic blast templates. It was like a 10-inch pie plate. It was crazy. The giant apocalyptic flamer template, the apocalyptic barrage template, all that fun stuff. And what I liked about this book too, or one of my favorite things about this book, is it is literally self-contained. So pretty much there was no additional supplement that you needed. Pretty much all the units you wanted to take, all the big stuff, all the titans and stuff was actually in this book too. So you could go and dig out the Forge World versions too, but they even have like Eldar Revenants in here. So just talks about some of the rules, and this was the core rules. Again, we're using the kind of 5th, 6th, 7th edition of the 40k rules, but this is Apocalypse, so it's just bigger. They had a couple of pages that had these nice big fold-out spreads where you could see, you know, massive armies facing off here. I want to show this off real quick. We have a couple of Eldar Wraith Knights. Those were newer at the time. And then in the back, we've got Titans and the big Titan. So yeah, and then on the flip side, Chaos, we had Chaos Warhounds. We've got some Defilers in here. Those were the biggest, you know, vehicles at the time for Chaos. We did have some Mauler Fiends in the front ranks as well. And of course, a Lord of Skulls. And you can kind of see how much larger the big Eldar Titans. And then in the background, big old Reaver Titan, another Warhound. So, but yeah, this was really, Apocalypse was all about, you know, forging a narrative, having a big game to play, yes, to bring all your toys, but if you're going to take all the time to bring out all your models, at least have a good reason, right? Talks about game length there. Again, we kind of mentioned that here. They actually give you some scheduling tips here. So 9 a.m., arrive and deploy in an hour, start the first session, play for about 3 hours, do a lunch break, come back after lunch around 2 p.m., and do a second session, and then do a dinner break in like 3.5 hours, and then after dinner, short dinner, which was only a 30-minute break, come back at about 6 p.m. 1800 and start your third session, and then end the game. So it was an all-day thing, and honestly, you kind of needed it. There's a lot of stuff here for the first turn, seize the initiative. That was a thing back then, still is today. We'll see if it happens in future versions of Apocalypse. But during the turn summary, you know, you pretty much played a regular 40k game. If you were playing with the Unnatural Disasters, you'd roll those. Then the first side player turn. So determine Divine Intervention, declare Finest Hours, take player turn, as described in the 40k rulebook. So you're playing big 40k with a couple of extra steps. Once everybody on side A is done, then side B goes, and second side player turn. Determine Divine Intervention, declare Finest Hours, take player turn, just like a regular 40k game, and then go to step 1. And do it all over again. You could play 5, 6, 7, turn games if you manage to make it that far, but depending on how many players you had, how many points you're playing with, that could be pretty rough. There's also some special rules here. I do want to talk about these because were unique to Apocalypse. You had the Divine Intervention. Allow powerful miracles of war. Each race is able to call upon its deity once per epic or deadly criteria have been met. So typically you have to hit a certain threshold for that to happen. Finest hours, similar to Warlord traits but on a far more impressive scale. The Finest Hour rules allow your Warlord a timely boost that can see him single-handedly turn the tide. So those were pretty powerful. And then we have Sons of the Primarch, specialized with the Finest Hours rules. These give Space Marine players the ability to channel their Primarch's greatness in their hour of need. And then strategic assets, strategic reserves, and then unnatural disasters. When a planet's getting bombarded that hard, stuff's happening here. These rules allow you to fight battles as the apocalypse erupts around your troops. Be warned, these cataclysmic rule sets pack a punch. They weren't for everybody, but they were pretty cool. Here's the Divine Intervention chart, and they had different ones for the different 40k entities. You had the God Emperor of Mankind, you had Runa's Powers, Gork and Mork, you had Kane for the Eldar, Dark Eldar, you had the Greater Good for the Tau, which they didn't really have an entity they worship, but so much as a concept. The Hive Mind for the Tyranids, and the Star Gods for the Necrons, and you can kind of see there on your screen all of the different things here. Let's talk about the Chaos Demons, Chaos Space Marines one real quick. The number of units in the opposing side that have been removed as casualties equals or exceeds the number of opposing side has in play. So if you wiped out 20 units and you had 19 on the table, you would check off the mark for the criteria that you could use this one, and the reward is that the fickle chaos gods delight in the slaughter and mayhem inflicted on their enemies. You can choose to treat any of your to hit and or wound rolls as a 1, rolls of 1 as a 6. So it's interesting. Suddenly you've got 2 out of 6 chances to have a 6 on your die, which is pretty nice. Treat any of your 2 hit and or 2 wound rolls as of 1 as a 6 instead. It really flips the die. So pretty powerful abilities. Kind of unique ways to trigger those off. Finest Hours. Here's another thing that you could kick off here. Like we said earlier, they're kind of like Warlord traits, but not quite. Once per game a lot of the time. So there's different stuff like the Command Exemplar table. You could get Relentless as a special rule. You could get True Grit, Never Give Up, Never Surrender, Great Push, Inspiring Order, Kill 'em all. So you could get different special rules, and these were basically everybody within 24 inches of your Warlord would get a massive boost for a turn. Getting Preferred Enemy for that turn could be a pretty big game changer, especially the 24-inch bubble. You're talking a 48-inch bubble around your Warlord, essentially. Everything within 24-inch radius of them. So pretty nice stuff there. And then that was also, we have the Personal Exemplar and then Strategic Exemplar table as well. And this is a special ones for the Space Marines here. I'm not going to get into all this, but they even had ones for Chaos Space Marines. For example, the Night Lords, Primarch, Conrad Kurz, Lord of Terror. The Warlord has a Fear special rule. All leadership tests passed by enemies within 24 inches of the Warlord must be re-rolled. So you could just use that as your kind of like the previous chart here again for the Finest Hour, but it was like a Space Marine only thing. Strategic assets. These are just a ton of stuff. These were supposed to be photocopied and then cut out, and you make a little deck. I think they sold decks of these eventually, but you get the idea. It's quite a few of these strategic assets. If you look closely, you can actually see the symbols of the factions that you could use them with. Obviously, we have some Stardust things going on here. We've got an Imperial Guard. We've got the skulls, which were just anybody. And if you look closely, you can see the Chaos symbols and stuff like that. Tyranids right here, Eldar, Dark Eldar, stuff like that. Orcs. So different strategic assets here. Strategic reserves. This was a big deal. If you're playing Apocalypse, especially on a big massive game of Apocalypse, having reserves could really make or break not only you playing a game, but also make or break your enjoyment of the game. I think if you kind of put everything out on the table turn 1, you had a really good chance of getting all of your toys blown up before you had a chance to do anything with them. But by having a few things in reserve, it ensured that you were going to get to stick around and maybe get back at the people that blew up your toys first turn. So they had some different strategic role reserve tables here. Unnatural disasters, again, these were pretty nasty. You kind of roll D3 plus the turn, and then things could happen. So just different versions. You have Warp Storm Breach, a Magma Storm. I think there's a couple more here too. Yeah. Psychic Conjunction, Seismic Explosion, Zombie Apocalypse, Exterminatus too. If you want to just nuke them all from orbit, it's the only way to be sure. This goes through the kind of different battles you kind of do setups. So this was Race to Destruction, which was you're only 9 inches away from the midpoint. So you start roughly 18 inches away. Really got the fight going quick. This was more traditional, 24 inches in between the two forces. So Crossroads to Death. This was just a weird, weird deployment. You could do another weird one here, Pincer Attack, where your defenders are essentially in the middle and then the attackers are coming from the board edge. And it was just kind of crazy. Final Assault, you get the idea. There's different missions you could play. Just how to get organized, we're going to skip through that. Again, it was very much, a lot of organization went a long way for Apocalypse, very important. Supreme Commander's rule, this was important. If you got nominated as the Supreme Commander, you kind of had the final say over kind of whatever. We house ruled it too, that if you were in the bathroom or taking a break or whatever, if your Supreme Commander was around, they were allowed to roll your stuff for you, just to help keep the game moving. So we also recommend, if you were playing, we here at BoLS definitely liked having an umpired game where you had basically somebody that was watching the game to help make sure everything was going smooth. They could help witness dice rolls. If another opposing player wasn't around, they would at least be non-partial enough to watch the die roll and make sure nobody's cheating, because again, it's all about having fun. But also just to keep the game moving. Help with any rules questions, look stuff up. We tried not to have the same umpire in multiple APOC games back to back to back, because it wasn't fair to that player, but they're doing such a big favor for you too, to help be your judge essentially. So, and then we get into Apocalypse formations. Now, a lot of this pretty much, the back half of this book is a lot of units and stuff like that. So we're going to go through this last part pretty quick. Yeah, different attack patterns. They have here, we've got an arrowhead, we've got a broadsword, and a rapier. You can see the different armored spearheads and how those functioned. Battle formations, high commands, all this fun stuff. Massive fortifications. Got to use one of these before. It was pretty crazy, that macro cannon. Psychic choirs, vehicle damage, super heavy vehicle damage. This was another big deal. We like to see those Titanic explosions, right? Everybody, whenever a super heavy died, it was always a blast, no pun intended, to hopefully see that 4 through 6 on the D6, because everybody appreciated a big Titanic explosion. Even if you were the victim of the explosion, it was hard to get upset when the big thing started going boom. That was always fun for me. Super heavy walkers, talks about the different rules for gargantuan creatures and flying gargantuan creatures. Again, a lot of different rules in the 5th through 7th edition of the rules, so just apocalyptic tweaks for that. We go over apocalyptic weapons. These would do stuff like the D weapons, where you would just get clipped, solid hit, or devastating hit. Pretty cool stuff. Hellstorm template, again, that giant massive flamer template. That was fun to shoot. Apocalyptic blast weapons, the barrage. This was always fun because you could kind of set the pattern of the explosion that you wanted, and then you roll the scatter dice to see if it shifted at all. It could do some funky stuff. And then again, the massive apocalyptic mega blast. We have the 5-inch inner pie plate, the 5 through 10-inch middle pie plate, and then the outer with the 10 to 15. My bad. I thought it was just a 10-inch. It's actually a 15-inch. And then the apocalyptic blast, and then the massive blast kind of shows you which was which. This thing was bonkers. Anytime somebody dropped that pizza pie plate on somebody, we called it. So somebody order a pizza, boom. Moving on, again, this is where we start to see a lot of the data sheets for the different units. Bane blades were in here. Again, this uses the old version of the rules where they had front, side, rear armor. They had hull points. They had a ballistic skill there, and the different weapons. moving on from there. All the different versions of Bane blades. I'm going to skip through a lot of this stuff because, I mean, we could spend an hour or two just going through all these different things. This is a big one, Space Marine company. Literally filled its entire company of Space Marines, and the formation restrictions for each one were listed here, were listed on their respective formation, any kind of special rules that you got, and then it listed out what you had to do to take, what you had to take to fit the requirements here. So, pretty crazy stuff. Veterans, Imperial Fists, Raven Wing for the Dark Angels, Cult of Destruction for Chaos. Here's where we're jumping to Forces of Chaos. You know, we could just go on. Lord of Skulls. Holy crap, Lost and the Damned. You get the idea. Orcs, the Bully Boys. There's the Gargantuan Squigoth, which was always a lot of fun. Stampas, Green Tide. I wanted to see, actually, before we jump too far ahead, I think we had some Titans in here. Let me keep going back here. There's the Thunderhawk Gunship, of course. Oh, where's it at? Space Marines. I might have skipped over them earlier. Shadow Sword. There's the Imperial Company. Holy crap. Hellhammer. Emperor's Finest. Emperor's Fist Tank Company. The Doom Hammer. Catachin Bane. Holy crap. Yeah. You know what? I know the Eldar had some Titans in here. Let me get rid of them. Tyranids. There you go. Hierophant. Viro Titans. And the Haradrim. Carnifex Crusher Brood. I like the Carnifex Bio Brood where you could fire the, this one. Screamer Killers. If you took a bunch of those, you could shoot the massive Hellstorm Flamer template. It was Assault 1 Plasma Scream. It was Strength 4 plus X at 2 AP. The Plasma Scream you had was equal to the number of Carnifexes taking part. So this is the strength. That was the X. So base strength of 4. If you had 6 Carnifexes taking part, it's a strength 10 AP2 Assault 1 Psychic Scream, or Assault 1 Plasma Blast. Cool stuff. Melting everything. Moving on. Necrons. There's the Baleful Necropolis, which was 1-shot strike bolt and 8 monoliths. Run that formation. Infinite Phalanx. We have Obelisk, Tesseract Vault, all those fun stuff. War Council of Mandragora, which was just a ton of special characters. There's the Tau, Riptide Wing. Oh yeah, that was a thing. Moving on. Fortifications. I just must have skipped right over the Eldar, man. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Good old Phantom Titan. This guy was a beast. Farseer Council. All that fun stuff. Moving on. There's a Revenant Titan, another beast. Yeah. I think you did have to go to Forge World for some of the other big roles. But this is just a bunch of art for all of the different cool stuff in here. Man, this is taking me back. These were really fun, unusual boards. If you had a lot of different players, sometimes it was fun to do linked boards. Just be careful if you had bridges. Yeah. More tips on how to set up, play. Here's I think this might have been an Armageddon. Yeah, third War for Armageddon. Different campaigns you could play. You get the idea. Tons of stuff in here. There's a lot of background too to chew through. This one, for example, Breakout from Vulcanus Hive, which was just crazy. I think this is more Armageddon. Yeah, Warzone Armageddon. Had this massive fold-out too, which is cool. Got Imperial stuff over on this side with Blood Angels flying in the flank versus a massive triangle of orcs. And then just in the middle here, oh my god, so many tanks. I don't know if the orcs are gonna make it out of this one. That's a crap load of tanks to deal with, on top of the Blood Angel, chapter coming in from the flank there. It's not good for the orcs. But then again, there might have been more stuff off that shot. Yeah. That's all of that. There's the Reaver Battle Titan. There we go. Yeah. Big old beat sticks. Warhound, Scout Titan. Scout. Yeah, right. Oh, this was fun. This was the Fortress of Arrogance, which was Commissary Ark's personal Baneblade. Clocked in 940 points. Yeah, good old points values were in there too. Just a ton of cool stuff for the apocalypse, for Armageddon. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this crazy stuff. There's the index. Man, take me back, bringing back some memories. That's Apocalypse 2.0. Good times. You will be missed. But we have 8th edition out, and we've got a new version of Apocalypse coming soon. Depending on when you watch the video, it might already be out. Anyway, I'm Adam here from BoLS. Thanks for joining me on this Retro Corner. Have a good one. Click to subscribe. Check out more videos. And thanks for watching.